JHart Modelworks. We're in the final stretch of the first-gen Honda NSX from Tamiya. With the final assembly and the reveal in one video, this one may be a little long, so grab a drink, kick back, and let's wrap this one up. Welcome to my workbench. Let's get started. As usual, we start by cutting off all the parts of this section from the sprues and cleaning them up with our UMP thinning stick sanders. For the most part, I used the 400 grit. There are two different sets of windshield wipers, one for the left and one for the right-hand drive. It would make more sense to me if they were together. I finally bought myself some new alligator paint clips with the metal posts. I like these a lot better than the wooden post ones where you glue the alligator clips onto the wooden posts. These seem a lot more solid. You'll notice while sanding these wiper blades, I keep my thumb directly opposite the sander. This way the sander is applying force to my thumb and not snapping the wipers in half. For the clear parts, I am going to sand them with my thinning sticks, but towards the end I'm going to go ahead and switch to the buffer tool. This will clean up any of the sanding marks so that I have a nice clear part. I picked up the window mask set from Zero Designs, pretty much zero paints. If you've ever used these masks, you know they either go on perfect or you're messing with them for like a half an hour. To save time, I'm not going to show me trying to place these over and over. It wasn't as easy as this video makes it look. I'm also a bit disappointed in these. These aren't nearly as accurate as newer masks from the likes of Tamiya. I still ended up having to manually mask the corners and very carefully trim off the excess. I then just added Tamiya tape to the front side to prevent any overspray. Additionally, the mask only covers the front and rear windows, but the sides are connected to the front and get no mask at all. I ended up having to mask the sides off on my own. You also need to mask off the front of the windshield to spray the lower clear area black for the windshield wipers. Honestly, do not waste your money on these masks. Just make your own masks with Tamiya tape. Just make sure you use a brand new blade and very little pressure when cutting the masks, but these were a complete waste of money. Into the booth for some primer, and just like with the interior, we're using a 50-50 mix of Tamiya liquid surface primer and Mr. Leveling Thinner.
Sweet!
This was my first time spraying Tamiya lacquers on clear parts. I was a little nervous, as if you get bleed through, it could be impossible to clean up as lacquers can etch into the plastic, but it turned out okay. The instructions say to paint small triangles in orange on each side, but looking at reference photos, they look red just like the rest of the taillight covers. You can't really tell the orange from the red. In fact, even the reverse lights aren't clear or white. They're actually pink, like the dye seeped in from the surrounding plastic. So to replicate this, I masked over the reverse lights and sprayed 3 coats of Tamiya LP52 clear red, then removed the masking and sprayed one more light coat, giving the reverse lights a faint pinkish coloration, which I think is a good match for the original taillight covers. The clear parts got some X18 semi-gloss black, and the rest of the parts got LP5 semi-gloss black. I prefer the LP5, but I'm still just not confident in spraying lacquers on clear parts, and sometimes my masking isn't the best, so I went ahead and used the semi-gloss and the acrylic. Back to the bench for some detail painting, and we'll start with some Molotow Chrome from the refill bottle for the rearview mirror. I typically just put a drop or two on a piece of Tamiya tape and brush it on with a fine tip brush. The Tamiya tape can then be pulled up and tossed for easy cleanup. These are the grills for the side vents behind the doors. I hit them with some Tamiya dark gray panel liner to bring out the details. Once the panel liner dries, just clean them up with a cotton bud and some odorless mineral spirit, and it'll really bring out those grills. Time for assembly, and we're going to start with the Acura logo for the center of the taillight. We're going to apply that with some microset and some UMP strong decal setting solution. I want to make sure everything's perfectly centered. And then just roll over it with a cotton bud to make sure there's no solution left underneath it so we don't get any silvering. We're going to place a tiny drop of Bob Smith Super Gold Plus CA glue on the windshield, and then carefully set our rear view mirror. The Super Gold Plus doesn't damage clear plastic like regular super glue does. Next, we're going to place the windshield wipers. There are 4 holes, 2 for left-hand drive and 2 for right, and the wipers are unique, so make sure to get the right wiper in the right slot. I had the camera zoomed in a bit. The upside, you get a better view of what I'm doing. The downside, is often like gluing in the side vent grills here. I'm out of frame. To give the taillights a more realistic look, I'm backing them with some bare metal foil. This is a pretty large piece, but with some care and pressing from the center out, it should go down nice and smooth. Once we have the bare metal foil pressed down and everything's nice and smooth, we want to trim off the excess foil. Be careful when doing this though, especially in that center part. We don't want to cut through or possibly break the part. We're going to apply some CA glue to the back of the car and then spread it around with our tool. And then completely miss the shot as you're pressing it home. A little bit of super glue and we can carefully mount the spoiler. You do want to make sure that it goes down properly, it's smooth, and it doesn't hang up on the taillight, which does actually extend up into the spoiler area. And now for the license plate. Texas has a website called myplates.com where you go to get vanity plates for your real car. I use their online availability tool to make an image of the plates that I want. I then take that image to Photoshop where I convert it to 300 dpi and then I scale it down to 12 by 6 millimeters and print several copies so that I can pick the best one in case there's an error in printing. Also, if I mess one up, which happens more often than I'd like, I have plenty of spares. I found this really cool pearlescent cardstock, which I use to print my plates on. It has a shimmer to it that reminds me of the coating the state puts on our actual license plates. A little bit of glue and just pop it into place. For a little added detail, I'm going to add a couple of these 0.03 inch bolt heads from ProTac. I have a love-hate relationship with these things. They look great, but it's so hard to get them off this black sticky backing that I lose 3 or 4 for every one I actually glue down. The light and fog light lenses were glued down with some Bondic. I think I'm getting the hang of it. I don't know. If I do continue using it, I think I'll get a better UV flashlight. To put the glass in, start with the rear hatch glass. Set it in and tape it in place so it won't move. You want to make sure the hinges sit in these recesses. I used the Bondic again to glue in the main glass. I put a little on the back and then considerably more on the front. I also gave the front some extra curing time with the light just in case. A little test and our rear glass works fine. You probably want to be careful though, those are not like the sturdiest hinges in all the world. Sadly, the mirrors were glued in out of frame, but that's okay. We will move on to mounting the body to the chassis. Okay, so it's finally time to mount the body of the chassis, and I love the way Tamiya did this. Literally every kit should be like this. This small plastic rectangular tab will slot into this small slot. Once it's in there, these two little locating pins in the front will slot into these holes with very little effort. Lining this back piece up and getting it in that slot correctly is literally the hardest part of this entire process. Okay, that goes in like that. And these go in like this. That's it. No stretching, no prying, no glue. Body's made into the chassis, no drama. If you remember way back to the first video in the series, we made this front splitter. We're just going to glue this in place. At this point, I'm just going to be lazy and put a couple of drops of glue right on the bottom of this lip and then use my tool to spread it along the edge. Put a tap of glue right here in the center just for good measure. Then line it up and press it home. Gluing the wheels on is just as simple. I wish I could have used the mounting pegs so that these would turn, but these aftermarket wheels just stick out way too much. The fronts are trickier than the rears as the hubs turn, so you need to get the centers lined up on the hub and then make sure that the hub doesn't rotate and you're lined up so that the wheels point straight. Repeat for all 4 tires, and it's time to glue in the last parts, our exhaust tips. I drilled them out and I hit them with some Tamiya panel liners so they would look more realistic and glued them on with some CA. And here she is all wrapped up. I think she turned out fantastic. I love the color shift in the paint from the blues to the purples, and the copper on the TE37 wheels from Fugu Garage make a great color contrast. We've got those AP Racing brakes in there from Hobby Design. Those look epic. The body kit we made with the side skirts and the front splitter that really fits this kit like it was just made for it. Taking a quick look at the interior, I think the blue and gray looks much better than standard drab black. Our engine with our little bit of added detail here and there. There's supposed to be an engine cover for this engine, but I really don't feel like putting it in there and covering up that engine. That engine just came out gorgeous. Underneath, we have our chassis and suspension. I love the accents from the anodized red sway bars, giving it just that little splash of color. We have our custom NSX1 license plates. When I do the new one from Tamiya, it will get NSX2. I just can't get over the blues and purples. All in all, an excellent kit by Tamiya, and I think it came out really well. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. Also, feel free to leave comments, feedback, critique, or anything else in the comments section below. I enjoy interacting with all my viewers in the comments section and try to reply to all the comments I receive. If you want to catch future videos, please consider subscribing to my channel and make sure you click the bell notification icon so you can be notified when I upload new videos. As always, thank you for watching, keep modeling, and have a great day.